if you look at the education system in general, not just in Enfield, you have a system where from year 7 to year 11, majority of people are in the same building. But then when it comes to like year 9, people start to split off into different classrooms. There starts to be sets. There starts to be BTEC classes. And to an extent, what is kind of bad about like the kind of system we have at the moment is not that the opportunity for apprenticeships is low, it's that the stigma in these areas is specifically high. So though BTECs will be an option in classes, and even CTECs in my old school have been created now, by an ad for that bridge, what actually de facto happens is that BTECs and CTECs and all these alternatives are seen as what you can do if you fail your GCSEs. It doesn't appear as an optional alternative if that is the way you are inclined to. If I was capable of doing A levels, then I'd never be encouraged down to doing a plumbing apprenticeship or something like that. Why? Because that is the kind of norm. People see that as the kind of security. They weigh that as equal. And I think a part of this on a national scale, even I've talked back locally in a bit, but is that there's an expectation that every job needs a degree for it. And that puts such a high value on academic studies when sometimes the practical levels are more like needed in the actual job. A lot of jobs which don't need degrees, it would benefit young people as a whole to not make them not make that compulsory. First of all, it gives people a second chance who didn't get into it, but also makes that people can get better at the stuff they love and actually practice it instead of feeling obliged to go down an academic route. Now, in our areas specifically, what you have is a divide. If you look at Barking and Dagenham, if you look at Enfield even, you have that massive divide between the rich and the poor. And what this ends up leading to, so if you look at Enfield, for example, you have this A10 road, and on the east side is absolutely poverty ridden. It's really hard to kind of get out of that cycle. On the west side, you have areas like Cockfosters, very, very affluent. And because they're in the same community, when you get people in the same schools, they kind of discard one half of it, and they kind of focus on the other. As I said before, people who are from affluent communities have that learning environment from a young age and more likely to excel academically. And that additional support isn't really there for poor families. There's no sort of like affirmative action, so to speak, to give additional education to those who have missed out in the past. I'd even call it slightly compensation young people need for the kind of areas they've been into and the kind of lack of education they've had. So because of this, when you come to the ages of year 10, year 11, people who are from the poor areas tend to be kind of sidelined, whereas the affluent ones proceed. And then when they go to sixth form, there's not really a care for anyone else because they want students to stay on sixth form and get them better grades. Even the way they're graded, like they're marked from Ofsted and above, means that they should only focus on them kind of students. And then when it comes to apprenticeships, so a young person, let's follow the journey of a young person who couldn't go into A levels. They might have not got their GCSEs. They might have just got one, let's say maths. Then they're going to go on to the local college. Given a lot of schools are really good at putting them onto the college, but the colleges themselves are very bad at kind of giving them that induction, giving that kind of like integrated feel. And there needs to be an assurance that that's happening in September. Because it is seen as so much more independent, not everybody is forced down that. And so once a child has missed that September, October integration date, like that kind of mingling point of that, then it's really hard for them motivationally wise to get back onto the ladder. And when that is the case, after September, you're struggling to find apprenticeship. You'll rarely find an apprenticeship if you have missed that October deadline. So you have a lot of young people, and I know we say we aren't thinking it's about crime, who are literally just sitting there from September to July waiting. No job, no education, because they're no job because they're hoping to get onto education. That's not happening anytime soon. And during those 9 months, which is a very long period of time, anything can happen to that young person.